A few days ago, Evolution stock dropped 10% because of worries about regulation. In this video, I will walk you through a Twitter thread that I found very interesting that highlights the situation, sums up what is happening to the stock and where we are going from there. I am a shareholder of Evolution. That's approximately 10% of my portfolio, and I've been following the stock for a few years. My name is Christophe Nour, and in case you are new to this YouTube channel, welcome. This is a channel for stock pickers, and with this strategy of stock picking great businesses for the long term, like Warren Buffett, I've been averaging 25% returns per year for almost a decade. So this is what I plan to do with this YouTube channel, and Evolution is one of my candidates. This is one of my portfolio. So let's start. What a sell-off. After another long thread, and I'm starting to become very positive for the next 1 to 2 years. This is a thread from Free Cash Flow that I didn't know at all, but given the panic, everybody started to do their thread assessing the situation. This is the best one, in my opinion. The views on this stock are extremely diverging, with a very high short interest. People are starting to become bearish on the stock. Short sellers come after this stock. The way I see it, the convexity is only going to ramp up. Okay, now let me show you the stock price of Evolution. It dropped 10%. And yeah, this is a complete mess. The stock has been going nowhere for 4 years, but the business has continued to improve and improve and improve. So valuation is compressing, and now we have a PE ratio of 12, a PE ratio of 13 for such a high quality business. A couple of years ago, the PE ratio was above 20, was above 30. When we were at peak optimism, the PE ratio was above 50. And now we are, let's say, at peak maybe not peak pessimism, but PE ratio of 13 for such a high quality business with high margins, growing nicely. So yeah, clearly you have some fear in the market. With the downside started to look more and more capped. It feels like the perfect setup for an exciting ride. I couldn't agree more. The list of perceived risks in Evo right now is pretty long. So he will list all the risks that are priced in with the current stock valuation. Okay, the first risk is shareholder churn. Growth and ESG investors are out. This is a gaming company for online games, for gambling. So yeah, obviously this is not an ESG investment, and because of big inflows, outflows of money from institutional funds, ESG investors are all out. Okay, very well, but they were never in, so this is just inflows and outflows of money. And as the stock is losing its momentum, you can bet that less and less institutional funds will buy the stock. And the moment it goes up again, all the big institutional funds will want to buy the stock. This is herd mentality. The same thing you see on Bitcoin. When Bitcoin crashed in 2022, nobody wanted to touch the stock, and now that we reached almost 100k, everybody loves Bitcoin. Okay, let's continue. Value investors in. Okay, 2, the second risk, regulatory pressures in Europe. Yes. 3, Asia crackdown risk, could include Turkey here as well. A dormant risk that could awake at some point in time. Okay, 1 year from now, 5 years from now. In Europe, given the new rule, you have UK scrutiny, UK regulators right now checking that Evolution is working with people that have a license. There have been rumors and real facts that in Asia, some people don't have a license to have these online games, gambling games. So this is purely illegal, and the UK market doesn't want to be in the illegal space and wants everything to be clear, very loud and clear, legal stuff. You want a license. So last Friday, I'm shooting this video on Christmas Eve. Last Friday, the UK regulators announced that they will check if this is legal or not. And Evolution immediately assessed the situation, immediately was cooperative with UK authorities. So this is very good. They don't want to lie to shareholders, to the public. They will work with authorities to handled this problem correctly. That's a very good and honest way of handling this situation, I think. So yeah, this was the second risk for Europe. This is not the first time we've seen regulators in Europe. Can I zoom in, by the way? Okay. This is not the first time we see regulators in Europe. You can check the history of evolution. Italy had the same problem. Denmark had the same problem. This is not the first time. Every time you had an issue with a European company, European country, evolution addressed the issue, was very cooperative, discussed with authorities, and that was fine, and they can continue to grow. I wouldn't be surprised if this is exactly what is happening with the UK right now. The UK market for Evolution AB is only 3% of the sales. You have some of the sales listed, accounted as for Maltese revenue, so maybe it's a little bit more than 3%, but I wouldn't say it's more than 5% of the total sales. So this is a small market, a small country. It won't move the needle, even if you have a fine or anything. So now there are three scenarios with the UK regulators. Either no issue at all, you cooperate, that's fine. Or the second scenario is a fine. You pay a penalty, but that's fine. That's a small market, so that's okay. Or three, you are revoked from working in the UK and you lose 3% of your sales, a little bit more, because you can't enter the UK market anymore. Because of the cooperation, because of the track record of Evolution, of being very honest and direct, I wouldn't be surprised if they have nothing, or maybe a little fine, but my mind says they will have nothing. This is my guess. Maybe I will be wrong, but that's my take on this one. So that's for the second point. Third, Asia crackdown risk. Yeah. In 2024, Evolution was attacked by cybersecurity, and as I told you, you have found some illegal activities using online gambling games for Evolution in the Philippines or Vietnam or other countries in Asia. That's purely illegal, but that's not the fault of Evolution. That's the fault of the operators. Evolution is just giving them the games, the online games. They don't really know what kind of country is using their services. So what they said for the UK regulators, they say that they will implement more and more the technology to detect where you play the game. Like, what is the name for? To change your IP code. So a VPN, basically. I'm not an expert in this subject. Maybe you know more about me. More than me about this topic, but they plan to implement more and more tech software to detect the countries so that you don't plan to play the games in illegal countries. I mean, you have some countries in Middle East where online gambling is completely banned, so it would be a shame to find people over there playing Evolution's games, obviously. Okay, so that's for the Asia risk, Europe risk. Let's continue. By the way, if you're looking for a complete framework to analyze stocks and build a strong portfolio, I have a coaching program. More on that at the end of the video. Georgia strikes and political chaos. A lot of the workforce for Evolution is in Georgia, okay? And a lot of the studios are in Georgia. And over the past few years, let's say 4 or 5 years, they have hired a lot of people in Georgia. Not the state of the US, the country in Europe. And they created some cheap studios with cheap labor in Georgia. And that's fine, operations went great. And in Georgia you had several issues. Workers complained because of the bad working conditions, like you may see with Amazon, for example. Bad treatment or anything else. So they went on a strike during the summer 2024. And now, as I'm speaking, in December, it's almost finished. Seems like the situation has been handled quite well. They fired the people. They fired the sabotage guys, and they said, okay, you know what, Georgia, you don't want to work here? Okay, we will cut some of the workforce and implement our studios either in Czech Republic or in Colombia. So that's it. Not everybody was fired, but some, maybe 10%, 10 or 20% of the Georgia people were fired, and you want to build new studios in Czech Republic and Colombia and all the and other countries. I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to fire sabotage guys in Georgia. Additionally, you have a political chaos with Russia and change in politics, president. I am no expert in politics, but I see people on the streets manifesting, political mess, and that could lead to more sabotage. That could lead to cutting the relationships with other states if Georgia becomes a country that works closely with Russia. Maybe you will have a change in political regime and workers in Georgia will have a different schedule. I don't know. This is very clear, but this is an additional uncertainty for evolution. So you see all the stuff adds up. The shareholder churn, no ESG, bad results, stock going sideways, some risk in Europe, some risk in Asia, Georgia, big studios, that's a mess. All these things adds up, and that's the reason why you don't have a lot of bullish people right now on evolution. Okay, another risk. North America has way lower margins than the rest of the group. Yeah, this is not cheap labor, basically. If you build a studio in the US has a different regime where you have to build studios on every state. Every state is different, every jurisdiction, tax system is different. It depends if you are in Delaware, Texas, it's different. So you need more infrastructure. You can't have the economies of scale. You have to be in every state and you have to pay a higher wage compared to Georgia. Yes, obviously. So that leads to higher costs, lower margins. Okay, so yeah, obviously North America has lower margins and the company is increasing its presence in North America. We've seen in the latest report that North America, the US, is growing fast. That's a big market. The gambling market in the US is growing like more than 15%, 20% per year. We've seen the latest data last week for the iGambling market. It's at all-time highs, and my guess is the runway for the US expansion is huge. The TAM, the total addressable market for the US market, gambling market, is huge. So there will be competition. But Evolution has been very good at scaling its operations with different countries. So don't really worry for this. That's an additional tailwind. And my guess is as the North America will become a larger part of the pie with lower margins, it will drag down the overall margins for Evolution. That would be my guess, because you have to hire more people in the US with a higher wage, a higher salary. So it will bring the overall cost up, knowing that the biggest cost for Evolution is the wage, the salary for all these people. So yeah, higher wage, higher salaries will lead to margin compression in the future. So yeah, that's an additional uncertainty. We don't know how fast it will go. 6. Margin erosion, increased competition. I'm not sure about this point, so let me skip it. 7. North America regulatory slowdown. Yes, I remember Kindred back in March 2020. A fine of 10 million euro pulled the stock down 15% intraday. So it was another company and it dropped completely because of a fine. So, bad timing. March 2020. While the broader market was down 3 or 4%. The combination of a period of bad operational performance, then the fine, then COVID, and then finally it was a fine from Swedish regulators. Okay, so all this combination of COVID and the fine and bad results crushed the stock down from unreasonable levels to even more unjustified levels, and the stock bottomed this day at 20 SEK per share, and 4 years later the company was acquired at more than 100 SEK. So if I go here and show you, you will see it. The stock was on a downtrend and got completely crushed and rebounded sharply. So here we go. Bad operational results, additional fine in March 2020, complete bottom. And then everything picked up. I have not followed the story, so please do your own due diligence. And then the stock was bought out at 130. But what I see here is that when things turn, they turn fast. And between March 2020 and March 2021, we were back at all-time highs here. So that can go really fast. The stock can have a downward performance, and we can have the same scenario with Evolution. If all these worries fade out a little bit and the stock is going back into growth mode, we will see the ship turning really fast, and you have to be prepared for this one. This is why I do this video. By the way, if you like this video, you can leave a like. That's good for the algorithm. Okay, let's continue. My feeling is that the overall risk premium in Evo is starting to become too large. Georgia and the recent UK regulators alone have a combined risk premium of at least 300 SEK per share. What the guy means is that the stock collapsed recently. Now we reached 800 SEK per share, and a few months ago we were at 100. So before the end of the strikes, the results of the strikes, and the UK regulators, the stock was up 300 SEK. Let me continue. I cannot think of other reasons for the fall today, when it dropped 10%, than 1. The direct risk for UK revenues. Low risk impact, in my opinion. 2. The UK being slightly more important than the press release dares to tell. There is some fixed fee UK operator revenue being allocated to Malta. Yes. If so, the total direct risk might be 4% at the maximum, given loss of license. So the stock should have been down like 4% or maybe 5%, but the sentiment changed and people gave up completely on the stock. So people thought that the regulators will have a fine, they will ban operations in the UK, other regulators will follow. You have some fear in the market right now when it comes to Evolution. So if you are a shareholder, you may panic at the moment. This is maybe why you watch this video, by the way. 3. The ripple effect risk for similar measures in other European markets. People are fearing that if the UK implements a new policy, strict policy, maybe Italy will follow. Maybe other countries in Europe will follow. Maybe Asia will follow. And if everything becomes regulated, you have fines. That's a mess. That will disrupt the company. The company is strong enough, in my opinion, but that's an additional problem. You don't want to deal with a lot of problems. Revoking licenses for any suppliers having revenue from unregulated markets would essentially leave no supplier left in the iGaming world. Regulations will focus on supply to unregulated operators in the domestic market, not abroad. Yes, all operators would basically be in trouble as well under such a regime. Is it up to the UK regulators to judge whether Norway, Finland, South Korea, etc. are white, grey or black market? You have, for Evolution, you have 40% of the sales in regulated markets and 60% in unregulated markets. Maybe that's the other way around. You have, let's say, half of the revenue regulated markets, good licenses. This is a white market. For the other half of the sales, this is unregulated market. That doesn't mean that it's illegal, just that we have no clear rule. We are clearly in the gray market, and there are some other markets like black markets where it is purely illegal. You have some countries that it's illegal to have online gambling. So we will see. There are some competitors of Evolution that focus only on regulated markets. You have lower margins, higher costs. That's not as efficient. You are slower, you are more flexible, more disruptive. So yeah, Evolution is half regulated, half unregulated. And for any hidden effects, like Asian operators using UK Sports Arena as a storefront while at the same time running a small UK site, I can't really see any effect here myself. Yeah. And the extent of such gambling is small for Evolution and has likely decreased quite a bit over the few years with fewer Asian betting partnerships in the PL. Humans hate regulatory risk. I completely agree here, which makes us overreact to such news. It's scary, and that's why the stock dropped 10%. You have a lot of unknowns. You have a lot of question marks. Is the regulatory risk you are getting paid for in Evo over time? You have an additional risk that you can add to the list. The cyber attacks that the company faced in, let's say, fall of 2024. The company was attacked, cyber attacked in Asia, and they hacked the streaming services in Asia. So you can add an additional threat. Maybe they will have to hire more cybersecurity guys, and it will increase the cost for Evolution. But that's a very, very good thread. Now the stock dropped 10%. You may ask, what is the next move? People, strangely enough, on Twitter, are okay with the situation. They panic, but they say it's a good business, let me buy more. I'm in their camp. And I've seen some people on Twitter saying that this is completely trash, the business is completely trash, and I will never invest in this. I will wait for it to drop at 600 SEK. Anything can happen in the stock market. The stock can completely rebound and we will have a terrific 2025. Or if the problems continue to arise, we will be crushed in 2025. I have no clear answer for you. And the only thing that I'm saying when it comes to these different complex risks, this is not the first time I say it, you never know when the risks will stop arising. You never know if you will have an additional problem in 2025. You can only focus on the metrics, on the fundamentals, on the revenue, the margins, the ROIC, the monopoly position, the net income, the PE ratio. The most simple answer is often the most true. You want to buy when it's cheap. In my opinion, Evolution is cheap right now. If you look at the historical valuation metrics for Evolution, we are in a very, very cheap territory. PE ratio of 13 for such a high quality business. If you look at the operators, when they worked with Evolution, they can have a PE ratio around 10. So you have basically the same valuation as a casino operator. I will let you look at the margins of operators in the world. Operators are worse business model. The margins are not the same. The profitability is not the same. The growth is not the same. Evolution is a different kind of investment. It's software, it's games, it's growing fast, it's very, very profitable, and it's almost in a monopoly. They have 60-70% of the market share. The competition is not there. And I believe that they will be flexible. This is not the first time they face this kind of issue. As I told you in the past, other countries, Italy, Denmark, and other countries in Asia have faced similar scrutiny, similar situation, risks, and every time Evolution has worked with authorities, complied by the rules, and they continued to work and work and work. So I think Evolution will continue to grow. I'm looking forward to their next earnings report because they will talk about all the things that will have an impact on 2025. And I hope this video was helpful to you. I will continue to hold my Evolution share for 2025, and I wish you the best if you are a shareholder. If you like this content, I have an investing coaching program. In this program, you will learn a complete investing process. You will learn how to find good stock ideas, how to properly value stocks, when to buy, when to sell, so that you can build a strong portfolio with great companies. Additionally, in this coaching program, you will have access to my personalized guidance for long-term results. We will do weekly calls where we analyze stocks together, and you will have access to my private number available 24/7 for full support. If you have any questions, I'm here to help. Click the first link in the description below to get more information. You will get a short video that explains how everything works completely for free. No need for your mail address. Just click the first link in the description and I'll see you on the other side.